Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brady Prenslow and this is Race Age 50. The goal is for me to record and document all of my 2025 races as I have upgraded to an age category. So primarily it's for me. I want to be able to look back at these races 20 years from now and say, hey, you felt old when you were 50. Now you really feel old. But I wanted to take a look at the good races and the bad races. And this definitely would fall under the bad category. This might be one of my worst races of all time. So I wanted to go back and take a look and analyze exactly why. This will be a short one, but I really narrowed this down into 3 reasons. And these reasons might feel like and sound like excuses, but for me, this is kind of where I could put my thumb on it. Having performed pretty well the weekend before in lacrosse, I just wanted to understand a little bit more about why this was such a bad race. And I narrowed it down to 3 things. First, I think I was sick. Second, not a great strategy. And third, there was a little bit of a mechanical mishap in there as well. So before we get into that, taking a look at this race, Ken Woods Memorial Road Race has been around for longer than I've been racing, but I've been racing it for at least the last 14 or 15 years as a Cat 3, a Cat 2, 40 plus, 50 plus now, and it is a 21-mile loop just south of Cannon Falls with a climb at the end. However, the climb is pretty manageable even for bigger guys. In fact, last year in the 40 plus, I ended up getting second, helping to lead out a teammate who got first. So for bigger guys, this is a very doable race. But going into this race, again, it was a little bit of wind. You had some tailwind, crosswinds on the backside. So I wanted to just kind of feel things out this first lap and see how I was feeling. But I obviously picked something up in lacrosse and didn't quite know it until I got about halfway through this race and just couldn't understand why my legs were having a hard time pushing the pedals. But as you can see, based on my heart rate, I think my heart rate when I won the crit the week before was barely into the 160s. And now I'm sitting in the 160s just 10, 15 minutes into this race. So heart rate isn't a great indicator, but trends over time can definitely indicate that your body's just not right. And I'd been putting in a lot of 12 and 14-hour days the week previous, and I think it was all just catching up with me. And taking a look at my training data for the week prior, didn't look great. I got through a workout earlier in the week and then failed, easy ride, and then here we are at Ken Woods. I had originally signed up to race the Hungry Bear gravel race, which is a 100-mile gravel race in Wisconsin, and thank God I decided to not go up and race that, or I'd still possibly be on the side of the road somewhere in between Cable and Hayward in Wisconsin. But here we are, just south of Cannon Falls in the Ken Woods Memorial Road Race, and just seeing how we're doing. So second reason, like I'd said, first reason, body's not feeling great. Second reason was strategic. This was definitely my fault. So let's go through this. We are going into turn 2 here on lap 1, and we go from a tailwind to a crosswind. And I knew I had enough sense on lap 1 to get out front and position myself in a place where I could sort of dictate where I was on the road to protect myself from the wind, as well as sort of sag this turn, if you will. And that did not happen on the second lap, let's just say. So speeding things up, we're at the top of the hill, the first lap. I'm still with the group. Nobody has gotten away. I'm sure we've probably dropped a few riders at this point, but everyone is still pretty much together. And even when I got up to the top of the hill, I felt like, all right, I'm doing all right. But we crossed the start-finish line up here, and then I get a sense that, things aren't feeling great. And look at this. I am so far back going into that same turn. I know that there's crosswinds there. I should be at the tippy tip of this group knowing that things are probably going to explode as soon as we take this right. But I am so far back. And I'm sure that it primarily had to do with the first reason why I wasn't up there. But my head just really wasn't in the game. And as you can see, this is exactly where my race falls apart. It's just painful to watch. So here we are going into this turn 1 on lap 2. We all kind of swing out. There's riders, 7, 8 seconds ahead of me, and then they just drill it right into these crosswinds. And there's a slight uphill here, and I'm still positioned okay, but then the next 3 or 4 minutes are just terrible. I'm being passed by absolutely everybody. My heart rate is still high. My legs just are having a hard time pushing the pedals. And I'm not saying that if I was a little bit further up with those leading riders that I would have been able to stay with it for the rest of this half a lap, but this is exactly where my race just exploded. And it's the worst feeling when people are passing you and you can't grab their wheel to save your life. And I think we've all been there. It's just the worst. And at this point, I'm just like, well, my race is pretty much over. I don't want to ride by myself for the next 20, 30 minutes. So I get with a group of riders and we start, taking turns. We realize we are not catching this leading group, but we at least want to ride together while we can and maybe battle it out amongst ourselves as we get to the final climb. However, even before we get to the final climb, I'm right with this group of 4 or 5 riders, and we're on this slight hill before the big hill, and the elastic just breaks even more. So the last reason, again, sickness, strategy, and I did have a bit of a mechanical. I got my wheels back from the bicycle chain and head after kind of getting the wheels rebuilt, and Head stopped making a freewheel hub body, so they put a 11-speed freewheel hub body on, and I'm running a 12-speed. So I put it all together the night before. I knew that it wasn't quite right, and that is my fault. I should have figured that out more closely the night before, but I think there was some rubbing and jostling of my wheel. So again, mentally that didn't feel that great either. But that was my race. Those are the 3 reasons: sickness, strategy, mechanical. I will just throw it all at the wall. And hopefully that is the worst race of the season. But again, wanted to chronicle it anyway. I'll be back to race Kenwoods again in 2026 and hopefully have a better race that time around. Thanks for watching.